The last part of this section 5.1 is talking about absolute value. The absolute value is the distance between a number and 0. The distance between a number and 0. So it is a distance, that's a measurable amount. So that means that the absolute value isn't going to give us a negative answer. If we're to the left of 0, say we're at -2, that distance is still just 2. So since it's a measurement, you can think about your rulers don't have negative signs on them. We could just measure left or right. It might be left 2, but it wouldn't be negative. So we've got this example down here, kind of what I was saying right there, with 5 instead of 2. The absolute value of -5 is 5. Now it doesn't just change it to the opposite. That's not what it does. The absolute value of 5 also happens to be 5. Right? The absolute value of a number is positive there. We can solve these. As you can see, both -5 and 5 gave me the same answer. The absolute value of -5 and the absolute value of 5 have the same answer. So when I start plugging in x's, that x could be 2 possible numbers. Just like -5 and 5 give you the same answer, there are going to be 2 numbers that give me the same answer. So that's why I am going to set up 2 equations. And you could think, why is the 7 the one that's changing? Because you just said the absolute value is going to be a positive, like absolute value of a number is positive. But think about this. Let me explain why. If I plug in 7, I get 7. If I plug in -7 into absolute value, I get 7. So both these guys inside give me the answer of 7. That's my final answer. So both 7 and -7, if I were to take the absolute value, they would give me the same answer. So that's the reason that I'm using a 7 and a -7. I'll do a little bit of algebra, not a whole bunch. And I get 2 possible answers. I can, and I'll check on this one, it's not something that's required, but if I were to come down here, if I were to plug in 12, that gives me 7. And if I were to plug in -2, that also gives me 7. So both of these numbers work. Let me do one more and then I'll have you guys try one. I'll do C. Before I can say what the 2 numbers, I set the equation equal to 2 different numbers, first I have to get the absolute value completely by itself. So we call that isolating. So I'm going to isolate the absolute value and then say it could be 6 or -6. So before you find those 2 possible answers, you do have to isolate the absolute value. So why don't you hit pause and try to do that for part D. D kind of combines B and C together, a nice little wrap up here. You will get 2 answers and you do have to isolate before you split it up. So go ahead and give that one a shot. All right, let's see how you did. I'm going to get the absolute value by it alone. So that means I'm going to divide by the 3. That gives me 7, similar to the one up B that I already worked. I'm going to come up with my 2 equations. And then do a few algebra steps to solve.